Hey, welcome back. This is Bernie again. This is the fifth episode of our Lotro introductory playthrough. Um, so while in the Corsair channel, another player and I started chatting, Uncipherable, and he mentions a couple things that I think, or he or she, I should say, they mentioned a couple things I think is really good to kind of talk about at this point, and that is interacting with other players and chatting. And I'm also going to talk about, now we've talked about our action bar, which is here, but we're also going to start talking about some of these other icons that are kind of over here and we haven't really mentioned at all. So I think, um, I think this is a good time. All right, now you see, you might not be able to see because the quality of the video is not so good. But in your general chat window, there's a whole bunch of information that kind of gets passes through. Um, you have um, red text, which might tell you, which tells you how much damage you did to a mob. You kind of have blue text, which tells you about XP you gained. You have kind of like pink text that tells you about the loot you got. But um, you have text from NPCs, and you also have text from other players. Now you'll notice here, you might notice that Uncipherable's name is in green. That's another player, and that the text is in yellow. Now, if you go over to IMs, you'll see that we have like an instant message. It's just like an instant messenger. We're having a kind of a chat back and forth. My name's in red. Uncipherable's is in green. One way to do this, or one way to kind of talk back and forth with a specific player. So when you do slash join channel Corsair, you're talking to everyone on that channel. But if you want to talk to a specific player, you do a slash tell. And what a slash tell, you're opening up a direct line to that player. So let's say you wanted to talk to me. You would do slash tell space my name, my character name, Bernie Rick. So it'd be slash tell space Bernie Rick space, um, and then you start typing your message. And what that does is it creates kind of an IM conversation. So you can click on the IMs tab and just kind of instead of having to do, if you're in the general tab, you have to do the slash tell and the player's name the whole time, and it can get really kind of monotonous. But you can go into the IMs tab and just talk directly to that player. Oh, let me add it real quick. Okay. So when you're talking to a player, if you want to add them to um, let me try to. So let's say that there's a player you're interacting with, and you're really you like talking to them, and they're really helpful, or you're helping them out, or you're grouping together or whatnot, and you're like, hey, you can add them to what's called your friends list. Now your friends list is in the social pane, and that's kind of where we're going to talk about these icons to the left and to the right of the action bar. And if you start to mouse over, so you have the first one is your system menu. So where it's where you can log out, you can go to your options. Um, you can log out of that character. You can exit the game. It's just basically it's where the help is. The second one is your crafting panel, and right now we don't really have any crafting, so we're not, in the we'll talk about that in more detail in the future. And then the third one is your social panel. So here you have this is a list of all the players in the area you're in. You have fellowship options. This is your friends list. So I added Uncipherable as a friend of mine. So simply, if you're talking with someone and you're really interacting with them, or they're helping you out, and you're in the middle, you want to be able to kind of talk to them again. Go ahead and I always ask first, hey, do you mind if I add you to my friends list? It's just kind of a way to be polite. You don't want to kind of randomly stalk people. And if they say, yeah, sure, go ahead, just go ahead and go into your social panel, and then add, and then type the name of the person, and then it'll show if they're online, give you their kinship or their guild, what class they are, and then you have your kinship tab. If you're in a raid, you have the raid tab. And if you're in a group stage, this is your group stage tab. So that will, I think that's all or Uncipherable. Yeah. So those are the kind of the two big things to take away. So as I said before, okay. To join the course, or to join a chat channel, you do /join channel, then the chat channel's name. To type in that chat channel, so so here I'm doing join channel Coursera. You just do /1. And that sends a message to the channel. I just said, how's everyone today? So they're all going to see it. If I just want to say something to, say the Ned Pruner here was another player, I can just say hello. And you see I did a little wave there. I mean, so those are some of the kind of the basics of communicating with players and interacting with other players. You can also do something which is called the emote. So let's say you want to do, you can just do /sad, and it makes your player do a little cry, or you can do /dance. And you can start to dance, or do /angry. Yeah, there we go. I like that one. So yeah, those are what are called emotes. And I'm sure you can find a list of some of them somewhere. I don't know all of them. I'm not a big emote user, but they can be fun in a group setting. So, okay. Now to kind of get back to our little buttons down here. So we've talked about the system menu. We talked about the crafting panel, which we don't have access to yet. And that's a post level 10 thing. Social panel where you can look at your um, who you're following, your friends, your kinship when you get into a raid. For those that aren't aware, a raid is um, when a large group of people get together to accomplish something. Either go after some bad guys or take over a town or beat up on something. Um, and I'm not exactly I don't know what the current raids are in Lotro again. For those that kind of join midstream, I am an experienced MMO player, but I haven't played Lotro before. And these kind of videos are just kind of designed for people that are brand new to the game or maybe not as familiar with MMOs as others. And it's just kind of what I look for um, when I'm starting to play an MMO and just some um, just a description about just kind of the basic systems that almost every MMO has. Okay, so we've gone over um, these are your D. This is your D log. It's kind of I'm pretty sure it's kind of like achievements. Hey, I killed 100 spiders, so you'll get your you get deeds for it's like I've you know done this, and that's kind of the log you can see of all the stuff you've done. Your quest log. Now your quest log is something we really kind of haven't really talked about, but is kind of a good thing to know about. You can either bring it up by clicking on the little ring icon or by pressing the L button, and this is going to show you what quest you're the current quest you're on. Um, it's going to give you kind of the background and what your reward can be, or what your reward is going to be for completing the quests. And you'll see here, yeah, there's um, solo quests, um, fellowship quests, um, instance quests, epic quests, raid quests. There's all kinds of quests, repeatables. Um, yeah, there's all kinds of quests. But so as you kind of get more and more, this quest log is going to help you kind of sort out, well, hey, what do I need? Um, um, yeah, kind of sort out and keep track um, of what's going on. The so the other thing here is we also have you can access your character pane, um, help, and then these over here are your bags. So you can open up a bag individually, one at a time, or you can open and close them all just by pressing the I button. Um, let's see here. Uh, oh, one of the last things I want to talk about tonight, or in this particular video, this is going to be kind of not a lot of action in this one, more talking. So we kind of went over chat channels, social, adding friends. Uh, when you can swap back and forth between your different chat channels by using slash commands. So if you're I know this is kind of backwards, but I just kind of remember this. So let's say Captain Brackenbrook here is a player, and you're chatting in the Corsair channel with /1. Make sure you remember to do /say for the so you can kind of speak out loud. Or if you're kind of talking between multiple people, with the slash tell, you can you can choose them in the IM tab. So let's say you have player A, player B. Just make sure you're talking to the right you're talking to who you want to people, or talking to who you want to. Um, so yeah. Um, oh, 14, not 13, Josh. Okay, and so yeah, I think that might be all we're going to cover for this particular video. So we talked about, you know, basic beginner social interactions with your chat, what these icons are to the left and to the right of your action bar. And actually, there's one more thing I want to cover. If you hit K, that's going to bring up your skills. Okay, and you can see, as you get more skills, more of these are going to um, become available. Um, um, so these are, you have two types of skills. You have active, which you do, and I think I talked about that before, which you initiate through a button click, and then you have passive, which you don't really have to do anything. These are just kind of abilities that you have. So you can see, there's a pretty big list. So for this particular, for Bernie Rick, I can wear heavy armor, light armor, medium armor. I mean, we talked about these. These are the racial skills. Um, you can, there are instruments, some, basic, um, basic skills, um, weapon proficiencies. So these are all the kind of weapons I can use. Um, Mounts is where you find your mounts when you get them, and then fellowship stuff. So bear with me, I can't type and talk at the same time. Um, so by default, your skills kind of accumulate on this bar, but you'll notice that when you hit your K, or when you hit your skills, these three rows here, they all kind of pop up. And what these are things where um, you can move your skills. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So that corresponds to button 1, button 2, button 3. But you can move. Let's say, okay, I have this skill. I only want to be able to. I want to move it to here, because I only want things that I can hit instantaneously, that don't depend on something else, to be on my main action bar. But I still want to be able to. Um, I still want to be able to see that ability, or have access to it. So you can move it to one of these bars, and what S, so it's like S plus 1, S plus 2, that corresponds to shift. A plus 1, A plus 2, that corresponds to your alt button, and C plus 1, C plus 2, that corresponds to your control button. So now instead of having, let's just say 10 abilities, that now you have I'm sorry, 12. Now you have 48. So you have 48 different kind of um, different boxes to play, to place stuff in. Um, so don't feel like you're contained just to using this base one through zero action bar. You can move stuff up and kind of out of the way. And you can see that it still appears, and it tells you, what key combination you need to press for that ability to be activated. Um, but it kind of frees up that bar for, if you want to, like I said, you want to just have, if you're like, I only want things I can instantaneously activate on this bar. And let's say all of my reactive abilities up here. Or if you want to separate your abilities by what type of ability they are, let's say you have abilities which are really good for just one target at a time, you can have those on, say, okay, those are all going to be my, control plus whatever abilities, or, um, I'm going to put all of my healing abilities on one bar instead of another. Um, it allows you freedom to kind of separate stuff out as much as you want to. And I'll conclude this video with this brief discussion about key binding versus clicking. Now, those that are new to MMOs are going to be like, key binding versus what? um, Let me run over to a training dummy here real quick and just to kind of show what I mean by this. I have, because because I kind of played MMOs a lot, I have a gaming mouse which has 6 buttons on it. So when I want to, let's say, attack this target, I just hit a button on my gaming mouse. Now you can also do, a button on your keyboard does the exact same thing. Um, or you can, mouse over the ability and click on it. That's clicking. When you have um, abilities associated with specific keys on your keyboard, that's called key binding. And I would recommend using your keybound abilities. So, pressing 1, 2, 3, or Control 1, or Alt 1, or Shift 1. Because what that does is it gives you the ability to continuously move. While while doing this. It also gives you the ability to move your camera. So I'm running away from them. So if you want to see, hey, is there something coming up behind me? I can move, and you're not, because if you were clicking, then you'd have to stop your movement and then click on it, and then you move again and then click. For some people that's more comfortable. I mean, if that's what you're comfortable with, cool. But I've because I use the mouse to move a lot, so by pressing both the left and the right mouse button down, you can run around. Because I do that a lot, I tend to use keybound abilities more than I use clicking abilities, or more than I use key. Let me try to say that again. I predominantly use keybound abilities. So um, it's something that if you're a new player, I would kind of recommend, especially at low levels, getting used to. Because I found it'll be helpful later down the road. However, if that's just weird and you're not comfortable with, um, you can, yeah, uh, you can initiate stuff with your mouse, but like I said, I would recommend just kind of getting used to using your keybound abilities. So, all right, I think that was a pretty good discussion. That was kind of a long video where we just talked about stuff mostly, and I'm gonna go ahead and stop this one here and probably do the last video for me for tonight, and we'll just start pumping out some quests and kind of get the action going.